Thanks for this opportunity to speak to you all today. I'm a big believer in sharing and growing the game, so it's very exciting to get this opportunity to just talk to a bunch of coaches, hopefully around the country and around the world, and hopefully I can provide something that maybe either reaffirms where you're at with your program or something that maybe gets you to think a little differently and maybe can help you out depending on the situation that you're in. So we're going to talk today about player development. And player development is kind of a big buzzword that's going around our profession right now, like culture and back in the day, toughness and things like that. And I'm not going to probably give you a ton of fancy drills and things like that, but I do just want you to think about what player development looks like in your program and how you're attacking it with your staff and how you're working with your student athletes. So with me, relationship plus trust equals success. And I think where we'll start with that is just the idea that I think it has less to do with what you know and more to do with how you're connecting with your pupils. So with that being said, quick thing about myself, just so you better understand me, because I think that's how my philosophy when it's come to dealing with student athletes has worked. I think everybody has a story, and I think we need to always remember that these are humans that we're dealing with, and there are pros and cons within each and every one of our athletes at different stages throughout the season, throughout their career, and throughout their days. So I think it's important to know that they have a story, and we want to know, that some things might be optically there, or some things, that may not be there, and understanding who we're working with is important. I do believe that in controlling what you can control, and as you see there, I was born with one hand, and for me, my path was different, but I wasn't going to let some physical differences get in the way of some of the goals and some of the aspirations I have. And I think that's important when we're dealing with our athletes as well. I don't believe in glass ceilings. I believe in being realistic with the players I work with, but I also am not going to be the one that's going to be, trying to keep them from reaching their goals. Never set limits on others or yourself. Life is constantly evolving and changing. So, like I said, my parents were huge with me. They didn't have a roadmap or a guide map to deal with a son with a limb difference. So with me, it's the same way. I'm not going to set limits on others. I don't know where other people have come from. I've never walked a day in someone else's shoes. So I'm very big on empathy and grace, and making sure that I'm just there to be an advocate to help them as much as possible. Fighting through adversity. I believe adversity comes in many shapes and forms. Obviously, in basketball, it's a very tough sport. There's 5 individuals. There are no helmets. There are no masks. You have to be able to do a lot of the skills. So there is adversity that happens in life and can happen in a basketball court. And I've seen it as a player and as a coach throughout my career. I do believe that everything happens for a reason, and staying the course. And it's the old adage, everybody has a plan until they get hit. So I believe in trying to fight through things. And then I think life is not always a nonlinear path. I look at my coaching profession, and I have been a high school coach. I started as a high school coach. I've been a college coach. I had a 6-year span at Southern Miss, went back to high school coaching for 3 years, went to Iowa State for 2 years, and then spent 5.5 years in the NBA with the Chicago Bulls. And now I'm back in college. So what I believe is, no matter the level you're on, you make sure where you operate where your feet are at, and treat the people that you're working with like it's the most important job. And if you do that, then I think your players feel that, rather than worrying about the past or the future. When I talk about how I deal with a particular person, we're talking more individualism when it comes to a player development program. I believe in a we program. In high school, kids don't know as much, but I think as the generations have changed, I think those kids even now want to know not only the what, but the why anymore. College, it used to be kind of in between. And then I learned that at the pro level, you're dealing with guys that are making 19, 20 million. You better be willing to to explain yourself and be able to give in a little bit to who they are if you really want to meet them. So, but I still think that that flows back even back into high school, that this is not just a me program, but it can also just be a you program, meaning we're not just going to follow and cater to everybody's needs. I think this, in order for this situation or the relationship to really prosper, it needs to have the idea of a we program. Because I think when it's a we program, I think it leads to investment, and then that helps the player, the individual, maximize their abilities to reach their potential. I think when it comes across as just a me program from a coach and almost an authoritative connotation, that when the bumps in the road happen, I think it's easier for the player to separate because the trust is not there. So that's why, going back to that first slide, relationship plus trust is very important to reach that success. I do want the players to feel invested in their development, and I'm not afraid to tell a player if we're doing a specific drill why we're doing it. I think that has changed in my career. I think early in my career it was more about, this is what I do, and because I tell you to do it, you do it. And I've learned that as I've gotten older, in my 20 years of coaching basketball, that it is important to know why we're doing the drills. And if we can't justify them ourselves, then there's no reason for us to do them with our athletes. I also believe in trying to provide as many tools as possible for success for their career. This is one of the things that I've learned within the last 12 months from a very intelligent colleague I had with the Bulls, but right message and right time. I think this can be in marriage, this can be in parenting, this can be in relationships. It definitely has come across a lot in my coaching path without knowing it, and now seeing it firsthand. But what this says is that, we're striving to be in that right message, right time quadrant as much as possible. There is a time where we have the right answers, we know what we're supposed to say, but maybe that player or that student athlete is coming off of a tough game, a tough circumstance at home, and everybody's kind of piling on them, but maybe that's not the time to come at them with that tough love and all that. The thing is, you're looking a little bit for when that student or that student athlete is ready to hear that message. And that's when we want to make sure we come across with that right time and that right message. I see this a lot of times where maybe it's the right message, but it's the wrong time. Kids coming out of the game, they've just been embarrassed themselves or something like that. And that's sometimes where a response is elicited from the player, just because at that stage of the moment, they're just not quite ready to hear it. They know they've messed up. They're not quite ready to hear it. Or like I said, there could be some external circumstances. I've seen this a lot with assistant coaches where it's the right time, but it's the wrong message. For example, the head coach has just got on them and they come down to the bench, and the player, knows that they've messed up and they're asking for help. And because the assistant coach hasn't taken the time to understand what the system is, or they're worried about catering to that person's needs to be their friend rather than truly helping them out. And then they actually deliver a wrong message. This can sometimes happen even at home with parents. Kid has a rough night and maybe the coach has got on them, or playing time wasn't what it was. And it was the right time to tell them, hey, stay with it. It's a long season. Things can change, and they might go into, making excuses and making it actually worse for the player or their son or daughter. And it's actually the wrong message. And then obviously we never want to have the wrong message or the wrong time. Finding that and being aware of that with the people that we're working with, I have found to be a very, very effective tool. And knowing that, hey, there might be things that are missing in a player's game, but coming right out and just giving them a laundry list of, you got to do this, 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 and this. It's just too much, or it might be too soon, and I don't have the investment built up and the proper relationship for that player to actually thrive. So I just want you to think about what that looks like in your spectrum and your world. When we're talking about player development within a team. And I'm not like one of these workout guys that is posting on Instagram and Twitter and getting all these likes and things like that. I am still a coach first and foremost. Recently in my career, I've had a lot of player development opportunities, and I've kind of had this label attached to me. But I want everybody to know first and foremost that I am a coach, and I do believe player development is a vital part of coaching. But I don't think it has to run separate. I think it can run along with the whole group. And the way that works is this. I believe in vertical alignment. I believe head coach, assistant coaches, players, they should be talking the same language. They should have the same nomenclature. I think um, if the head coach values certain shots, then the assistant coach should be doing those in their workouts, and they should be able to make sure that the players are working on those right things. It shouldn't be about the head coach has this vision and some assistant coach is trying to create a different vision just to get maybe close to the player or to get the player's ear. So there has to be this layer of vertical alignment. That doesn't mean that everybody has to be in a straight line, but the way I like to think of it is more of a river and a bank. So there's this alignment, and as long as people are going to be different and they might have different philosophies or little minor philosophies or how they work on things, and they bring different parts to the table, but there's never anybody, whether it's assistant coach or an AD or a principal or whoever, that's pulling away from the overall vision and alignment of what the team is trying to strive for. I believe in player versus program development, meaning in the off season, it's more player centered, and that's where you can maybe look to grow things and look to grow a player's game. So in the spring or the summertime, you can look to expand, but when it's in season, I'm more in the mode of program development. What does this player I'm working with need to work on specifically to help? And I don't like the word role, but purpose for this team and what that looks like. If I'm a head coach, I want that being done from the assistants underneath. And now as an assistant coach, I want to make sure that I'm following that mission that the coach is doing and what his vision is to make this player successful. So that's where the program development may be different than a player development throughout the stage or the calendar of the season. When we're talking about player development as well, I think, and this is why I say this is a buzz term, I think there's people out there that are elite at individual one-on-one type workouts. I believe there are people that are good at parts, meaning how they fit things together. And then I feel like a lot of head coaches are really good at maybe the way that all five look like. And what I want to try to do when I talk about player development is I want to be able to make sure all three are fitting together. I'm not going to work on some tricky skill that isn't going to really fit into the whole 5-on-0 or 5-on-5 scheme. I do think there are a lot of very good head coaches that truly don't understand how to teach the fundamentals though as well. And maybe they see the whole part of it and they struggle to teach players how to work on timing, how to work on setting up, and how to work on the parts within their overall offense. And I think the ones that are really good is they have everything, once again, vertically aligned and in sync from the individual to the part and the whole development as well. I believe in having a workout goal each and every day, and this is maybe a little bit more off season than it is in season, but if it's extra work even in season, I still try to hit these buckets to an extent, meaning that I have a today goal, I have a this year goal, and then a 3 to 5 year plan. Maybe there is that we're always going to have the focus be on today and the player's overall purpose right now. But if a player truly is coming to work extra, or like I said, in the off season, because I have been at all different levels and systems may change, I do believe in having guards work on perimeter skills, and or bigs work on perimeter skills. And I do like guards working on post skills. And especially I think that's important at the younger ages when people are still developing at a different stage. So I do try to have all those goals within a specific workout. I am a huge believer on fundamentals. We did fundamentals at the NBA level, and obviously we still do it in college. And in the high school level, I think it's vital. I think that's one of the things that I've learned is that that kids at an early age are skipping steps, maybe because they are athletically given, and then as they progress up, if they've missed some of those fundamentals that I grew up with, then it really hurts them later in their career. So I don't believe in skipping steps. I believe in attacking everything as much as possible at a very low level. We'll work on pivoting, we'll work on their right and their left hand, and we'll work on making sure that they're as well-rounded as possible. I do believe in footwork. I believe in starting and stops, all the old school stuff, just making sure that it's tailored to a why are we working on it, not just going to do something to do something, but I want to make sure that it's fitting into what our overall system is. And then I also believe in the levels of teaching and progression. So as an example, what I mean by that is when I'm teaching someone shooting, we're going to obviously work on fundamentals and starting there first, but we're going to work in a progression, meaning we're going to start with level 1 catch and shoot, which is to me the easiest layer of shooting. Then we're going to move, if that player has mastered that, and by mastering it, I'm talking about shooting at a 60 to 70% clip in a workout setting, hopefully 35 to 40% when it comes to in game. But then we're going to move on to an off the move, meaning our spacing principles, maybe the last 2 or 3 steps, whether it's a hammer, whether it's a shake pass, whether it's window spacing, whether it's pull over. So this element of manipulating their body position to make sure their balance still is on target when they shoot the ball. From there, we move on to their off the dribble, which is another skill where you have to work on the transfer from ground to shooting pocket to finding a target. And then the highest level of shooters are off action. And that's the Kyle Korvers, Doug McDermott's, Klay Thompson, where everybody in the gym knows that this particular action or play is for them, and they have to shoot at a high speed and rep and be able to be very precise in all their checkpoints in order to shoot at a high clip. And what I mean by this is, if this is a player that I know that's a developing player when it comes to shooting, I use a player like David Nwaba, who I worked with in the NBA, as a guy who was an elite defender, very good in transition, hard playing, just good player, but his main calling card to stick is he needed to be able to shoot. He didn't need to do off the dribble. He didn't need to do off action. He just needed to at least start with shooting corner threes. So we really would only focus on level 1 throughout all of his progressions. Now, if it was a player like Zach LaVine, then we were hitting all 4 of these levels throughout his workout each and every day, because he was a high level shooter. I also want to make sure that when we're talking our workouts, that we're going to hit these buckets, meaning it's not just going to be shooting only. It's not going to just be ball handling only. We're going to hit different parts. So there's a ball handling element. There's a passing element. I hit on this earlier, starts and stops, a footwork element. Finishing has become a huge part of our game. So making sure we're working on our different finishes, shooting, pick and roll, just the timing, reads, and execution, understanding that we're not just running this ball screen maybe just to get you a shot, but the what and the why and what we're looking for and the timing of it. And then overall, I always want, when it comes especially maybe to a shooting or something we're working on, I want it challenging yet confidence building. I don't want the player to get bored with the workout. I want them to feel like they're learning something. I want them to feel like they want more. I would rather have a workout in 3 minutes too early than 3 minutes too late, because I want them to keep coming back and develop consistent work habits and professional habits. But then I also, like I said, I want good shooters to feel like they're good shooters. I want to challenge them, but I also don't want to make the goals so high that they feel like they aren't a very good shooter. So all those skill buckets come into play whenever I'm devising a workout plan. the last thing too is, I do believe, like I said, vertical alignment, that there's a level of, I'm going to teach. I started as a teacher. I was an elementary PE teacher. My mom was a teacher. So I do believe as a coach, I'm a teacher, and it's very easy to forget. So when we're talking about systems and things like that, I want to make sure that whatever our terminology is, if it was a new term or was something new or concept that we worked on, that we go back and we talk about it, what we worked on, because the way I look at it is I want them to take ownership of that workout and to know that, hey, they don't need to hire me or hire someone else to make big money to work on their career. I want them to feel the investment of, oh, not just this was a good workout, I liked it, but how do I replicate it? And that goes into the 3 to 5 year plan. Maybe they're in college someday and they're in an off season, or maybe they get the chance to play professional basketball. They get this opportunity that they can work on their craft on their own and not feel like they have to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to regenerate a workout to help them with their career. With that, I'm going to transition a little bit into some film stuff. When it comes to film, I am a big believer in film to help teach, to get points across. Obviously, I have my own catalog of drills and workouts that I like to do and skills and things like that. But what I've learned as I've progressed is I do like to watch basketball, and I like to watch basketball at higher levels. And high school kids like to watch college and pro kids, and college kids like to watch pros, and pros like to watch other pros, and they're constantly looking to steal, beg, borrow, and steal. So and I don't think it's necessarily about trying to steal some triple step back move that maybe isn't a part of their progression, but how can you find some of the micro skills? We talked about the individual and the part when it comes to skill development, but how can I find guys that are in roles these guys are aspiring to get to, or teams or situations? How do I show them that, hey, this is important to their development? So I constantly am watching and looking. I have an eye. I look for different ATOs and different plays that maybe Fred and I are going to implement with our system. I look at different situational things, maybe teaching tapes that come from situations. Maybe it's fouling late or a simple press late or situations. What would we do in those situations if I was the head coach? But then I've also developed in the last few years my own player development library. And what I do is, as I'm looking, watching games, if I see an example of a go and catch that I'm working with a student or a player, that I make sure I flag it and I put it in my own database. So I have this whole long list of different skills and drills that I might be able to use as teaching points, because I can go out there and show people to a certain extent, but I think there's also some learners that like to see that visual touch too, and it gets them to watch the game in a different lens. So like I said, this library of skills and examples, I can pull these out in different ways, different times. Maybe a player likes a specific player, so I'll pull clips on how they do things and try to tailor it to help them. So this is something I've gone to a lot recently, but this is the idea of pulling examples of maybe how we want to play, whether it's in the part or the whole, or the individual. And like, here's an example from the one, like we want to play with advantage basketball. So right here, we get an advantage, we make 2, draw 1. And sometimes it's not as simple as shooting, but can we go good to great? So this idea of drive, kick, swing, it's not just to drive to score for myself, but how can I get my teammate an open look and play unselfish basketball? I also can talk to players about spacing. Look at this great spacing here. We got deep corner spacing. We're outside the 3. There's driving lanes and there's opportunities. Okay, here it is again. So starting and stopping. Eric Gordon catches with 2, so that way he doesn't travel. He gets it down quick. And here we're talking hammer spacing. So PJ Tucker here does a good job of filling hammer. These guys have been drilled in their drills. that PJ knows when Gordon drives, his man's going to be there in the hammer spot. So now we get 2-1 and we get a wide open look. And these drills, this nomenclature, this terminology will come out in any sort of drills that we're working on. Here it is again. Here's Harden. Everybody talks about him as a scorer, but what I see here is him gearing down. We call this gearing down and almost slowing down. He doesn't get a charge. He slides away and he sees Rondo here pre-rotating to the corner. And because he's worked on it and he knows these reads and his teammates know where to be, he's able to make this, we call this a Euro to a 45 pass, and they get a wide open look. Okay, middle drive. Here it is again. Now, what are they going to do with their spacing rules? Jamal Murray steps up to help on the drive. PJ Dozier looks to smash down. This little idea of Ingles, instead of staying in the corner where maybe Dozier could knock this ball free, he just slides up 2 steps. We call this into the window, and now he can make a good pass to him. That 2 slide there might be the difference in PJ Dozier getting there to block it, but instead, 40% 3-point shooter is able to get an open shot. Okay, passing, we call this a get game, but Jamal Murray right here, just when it comes to passing, for example, I have one hand. I don't believe in always 2-hand passing. I believe in push passing, meaning more of a shot. I move it to the side and I pass out and around the defense with the right hand, but also the left hand, push pass with the left out and around. But if you look here, Jamal Murray, instead of making the pass right from the middle, he passes out and around the defense. If he was a left-handed player and he passed this with his left, Royce O'Neal would steal this ball. But because he moves the ball out to that passing angle, he's able to deliver the pass to Jeremy Grant. So those are just a micro skill of we move the ball to the side so that way we can open up a passing angle. And we would drill that within some of our workouts as well. And maybe a guy is struggling with that. I could go back and show this as an example. So passing out and around the defense. Pick and roll stuff. Okay. Doncic here comes off the pick and roll. He reads the low man, Shamet. And as soon as he sees him lean in, he's already looking to pass out. And this is a big concept we have. Some coaches don't like jump passes. If you don't, that's your deal. But we never jump to find a pass, but we can jump to make a pass. So he opens up the passing angle, and because Shamet is already leaning in and his read is there, he can quickly make this pass out and deliver an on-time, on-target pass. Shake passes. As Bam rolls in and he sucks Oladipo in, we call this a shake pass. The thing I love about these passes, look at the pass quality. It's right to the shooting pocket, and they go one more. Starts and stops. Here's Brogdon. He goes in here. Watch, this is what we call a stride stop. His inside foot, left, right. You can teach a jump stop. I have examples of jump stops, but here he makes the play from the ground. Stride stop, reverse pivot. Able to find a man because he's playing under control. In our game, pick and rolls become huge. So how do we play in pick and roll? We call this a pocket pass. There's the pocket in between Tice and Tatum defensively, Jimmy Butler. We call this inside hand. See how he wraps it with his right hand right into the pocket. Conversely, here's Richardson making an outside hand pocket pass with his left hand, his offhand, but able to hit Embiid on the roll. Okay, the game has changed somewhat, at least in the higher levels, from playing inside to out, not through the post, but through the pocket. So this is pocket pass, extra pass. Marvin Williams attacks the low man, and he's able to make the play. So this idea of bigs being a little more skilled and being able to make these plays off the dribble is pretty huge in today's game and age. Driving, finishing. The ideas of just simple layups, but if you can create angles at the basket, those are always good. This is a Euro that's obviously become big. Donovan Mitchell gears down once again, opens up an angle. Here's another one. And I have, like I said, I have a whole library of these that we pull out. Maybe specific guys have specific package. different players, but here it is again. He's attacking a big, a cross grain. Now this same hand, same foot, which has become common in the upper levels. And then just a micro skill tier 2. John Wall was really good at this. He would set you up with this drive. He shows the hip, and this change of speed, change of direction by DeLon Wright gets an example. And then there's a different type of finish that we might drill. Player development, talking bigs, how they space. And once again, these are examples we pull out, but here's Tyson Chandler, this idea of versus an ice coverage. He puts his foot in the ground and he takes off and he runs through. I understand not everybody has a lob threat like these guys, but also understanding how pick and rolls work, trying to get the big to guard the ball. So now it's a 2-on-1 situation. Bottom hip screening. John Wall is an under guy. This is great by Gortat. See how he forces the over. If it just slides under, the big doesn't have to guard. But now Myers Leonard has to decide who he's going to guard. Here it is again, Josh Powell. Bottom hip. See how he slides underneath. There's a over. And now Adams has to guard the ball, which leaves the roll man open. Last one, I believe, on the bottom hip. Derek Favors. He gets the bottom hip. Vucevic has to help on the pick and roll. And as a big, we always want to assume miss. Guards get it on the rim. This is a good runway offensive rebound, and we'll work on this with our bigs. We can also use this stuff, last point, for our defensive player development. So in our system, we talk about our big is in charge of the pocket pass. Wendell Carter here, this is something that was drilled in his workouts, but see how he's taken away the pocket that Oladipo wanted to throw. We also talk here, here's a micro skill. Watch how Wendell Carter pulls Satoransky through right there to help get him in front of the ball. Big right here. We don't do a great job getting into the ball, but because Carter gets the ball handler going east, west, or south, now Kobe White can get back in front and we can get back right. And then our last one, we talk to our guards, at least in our system, pick and roll, of they've got the hang pass. So Shaq Harrison here has been taught that when LeVert's hips go up, his hips go up, and then he can kill the hang pass. And like I said, those are just examples that are micro skills of maybe players that are in advanced levels that we can then show to our own players to then reemphasize maybe some of the drills and some of the things that we're working on. So once again, you're doing player development probably in all your levels. Don't feel like you ever have to skip steps with your players. The same still things apply. Being able to shoot, pass, and dribble and defend are huge. And whenever you can pull those examples out and work those into any of your sessions, I think that it leads to the overall player growing and, more importantly, the program growing and everybody having success. So thank you so much for your time. Good luck as you start your seasons, and good luck to you continuing to grow the game. Thank you.